For those of you wondering what my alignment is, whimsical neutral. So there's this really good discussion that started about neonate characters versus ancilla characters, and I promised that I would cover this, so I'm going to get right to it. I'm going to start with neonates, because neonates are the bread and butter. This is what most of you are going to play. So what is good about playing a neonate? Some of you, when you came into our game for the first time, were used to playing much older vampires, and were told that the requirements of our game were for much younger characters. So what's there to go for? Well, the most important thing to keep in mind about neonates is that they are the most free of all characters. They have full run of the Camarilla, unlike mortals and ghouls, but they do not have the expectations that are on most ancillae. They can just go off and do whatever they want without large amounts of political consequences, unless they've gotten into a position where they're in some kind of political situation, such as their whip or something like that. Neonates have a lot of flexibility. You can play almost anyone, and they're also some of the easiest characters to play because they're usually less than 50 or 100 years old. So you don't have the same expectation from everyone to have the research done and all the other stuff. So neonates are really good because they don't require that much work to do. Neonates also offer a great deal of role-playing opportunities because if you think about it, yeah, if you're a neonate, the ancillae have all this power and the elders are mean, yada, yada. The good ancillae and what we're expecting from the ancillae that are coming into our game is they're going to try and recruit you. The great thing about neonates is they can work for someone, and they're not seen as a rival by the ancilla. So you can get involved with things more easily, but what you have to do is align yourself with the older characters. And if you look at the vampire universe, this is exactly how it's supposed to work. Most vampire campaigns in tabletop involve the player characters being manipulated by older vampires. Well, most good ones that aren't just a bunch of elders running around having superpowers, but that's a digression. So that's really the best thing about neonates, is that they have a great deal of freedom. They're easy to play, so because they're modern characters that you don't have to read a bunch of history on. And you have the freedom to associate between all these various factions and get involved with things. You're on the front lines. You really should be. And one thing that we're going to try to do with the ancilla characters that are coming in is say that you are not supposed to be on the front line. You are not supposed to be the person who investigates things for the first time. That's not you. Why would you do that when you have neonates to use for your own benefit? They're supposed to be more puppet masters. And you might be saying to yourself, well, why would I want to play a puppet? Because it's fun. The most fun I've ever had in games, be it LARPs or tabletops or online, would be when I was under the wing and under the thumb of another more powerful character. It gives you something to play off of. It gives you something to do every night. So that's an excellent form of role play. So it's a lot of fun to get into that. And even if you buck that system, you need to make something out of bucking that system. And hopefully your character will get involved with the system despite themselves. So what do we expect on the game from neonate characters? Well, like I said, the expectations are low, but we do have a couple of them. And we see this problem come up time after time where somebody who's read the books a half dozen times wants their character to know who the Baldi are and what the history of the Toreador is and who the Hell Trio was and all this other sorts of stuff. And one of our main expectations if you're playing a neonate is you play the level of knowledge which that character dictates. You don't play somebody who knows all this stuff. One, you shouldn't, and two, you're robbing the ancilli characters of a really big part of their thing, which is while they're not supposed to be on the front lines, they are supposed to be the kind of informer sort of characters who know what's really going on. And if all the neonates also know what's going on, it kind of robs them of a big part of their role to play. The elders probably won't tell you shit, but the ancilli know enough and would probably let some things slip. So you don't want to play a character like that you start being a know-it-all, because we will come down on you for violating your lores. And also, you're not playing the level of ignorance your average neonate in the World of Darkness should have. Another thing we require from our neonates is that you need to play a reasonable level of humanity, and you need to play a character who's not a sociopath, who's not, I don't react to anything because I am so harsh and I have seen so many things. Even combat veterans cry. So you won't see a neonate character, it will be a damn rare one, that is so emotionally mute that they're not affected by things. And they should be dealing with the horror of their existence more. Because ancilli, they've gotten time to process, they might have come to terms with their existence, they might have come up with a way of adapting. Not completely, mind you. But a neonate character should not be the cold, hard son of a bitch that an ancilli character had. You should be able to look at the reactions of a neonate and the reactions of an ancilla and look at the neonate and say that person is more human.